No,
is
it's
an
the,
issue.
but what is
but what is the answer
Congressman,
to
I don't think you understand the Insurrection
Right,
Act.
to Michael's...
Well,
well, let me just ask, Congressman, do you actually know what the Insurrection Act says?
Yes, but this is...
hang on. What does it say?
Well, look, what we saw happen in January 6th in the Congress, that's insurrection.
That's not the question. The question is...
Michael Knowles stepped onto Piers Morgan Uncensored and went up against one of the most painful Democrats you will ever have to sit through. And every single time this guy opened his mouth, he just ran straight back to the same recycled talking points that all of these people use. So Michael Knowles did something simple. He asked him to actually define the terms he kept throwing around. And just like that, the whole thing fell apart. Because that is how most of these people operate. Let's get into this clip where Michael Knowles goes ahead and completely exposes this guy on live television on Piers Morgan Uncensored for not being able to back up a single word coming out of his mouth. Let's get into it.
Specifically on the deployment of federal troops
what the hell
in
am I looking
states which are not DC, where obviously the federal government can do that. The president has that power. There is this raging argument now about whether it is constitutional, whether it is lawful for the president of the United States to do what Trump is now rolling out in places like Chicago. What is your view of that?
It's not only not legal, it's not only unconstitutional, but more importantly, it's not even good business, because this costs so much, putting federal troops in cities. Instead of that, if federal government can give the grants so that local police, law enforcement can hire more people. Right now, they are severely understaffed. They don't have the resources they need to keep our cities safe. Now, in a long-term process...
But aren't you answering your question?
I think you're making the point.
Right. In a way, what you just said is the rationale for doing it, isn't it? They're under-resourced. They don't have enough people. They can't control the crime. Donald Trump is recognizing this, and he's doing something about it. And I'm curious about how many regular Americans who live in some of these very crime-ridden inner cities in America are really as opposed to it as you sound like you are. Because, if you've got a lot of crime going on around you and the police are woefully under-resourced, why would you object to seeing some troops on the streets to just try and restore order and perhaps send a real message to criminals?
See, putting military and reserves all over America, major American cities, and militarization of our country is not the solution. The solution is empower the local law enforcement, give them the funds that they need. It's the funding that needs to come so we can have a more long-term, long-lasting solution to it.
Congressman, are you familiar with the Insurrection Act?
Yes, I am. And
so what do you think that's for? You said that this was illegal. You said it was not unconstitutional and illegal for the federal government to send National Guard into cities and states. What do you think the Insurrection Act is for?
Well, look, this is a issue that the local government should be handling. This is an issue.
What is the answer to
I don't think you understand the Insurrection Act.
Right, to Michael's... well, let me just ask, Congressman, do you actually know what the Insurrection Act says?
Yes, but this is...
hang on. What does it say?
Well, look, what we saw happen in January 6th in the Congress, that's insurrection.
That's not the question. The question is, are you familiar? Obviously, the government is citing the Insurrection Act as the empowerment to do what it's doing. Are you familiar with what the Insurrection Act allows?
Yes, I am. But look, this president has used all kinds of excuses to break the law. This president has used...
No, but that is the law. So what is the law, Congressman? You say you're familiar with the Insurrection Act, but you don't seem to be able to describe what it does, and you're actually contradicting it. So what do you think the Insurrection Act does?
Look, the issue here is that we need our cities safe. Americans want...
Well, Congressman, with all due respect, that's not an answer to the question.
Can you lay out what you believe allows Donald Trump to act so unlawfully?
Hang on. Jack, I'm going to come to you very shortly. But just to be clear, Congressman, it's a pretty simple question that Michael posed, which is the government are citing the Insurrection Act as the rationale and the legal tool by which they can do what they're doing. You said it's illegal and wrong and they shouldn't be doing it, but you seem to be struggling to explain what the Insurrection Act actually is. And Michael, quite rightly, is saying, well, can you just tell us?
Well, whatever it is, when the National Guards are picking up trash and the National Guards are watering the flowers, that is not Insurrection Act, and that's not what this is meant to be.
But do you know what it is, the act?
Yeah.
What is it?
When there is an insurrection, the government has powers to use military, use reserve to address those situations. And this is clearly not the situation here. What we need to do is empower local law enforcement.
Okay, Michael, your response to that?
I think the congressman might be a little bit confused because he said that the federal government is breaking the law by sending the National Guard in to restore order to the cities where crime has spiraled out of control, where there's obviously a violation of federal law with all of the illegal aliens running about. And that is actually what it's for. We have a federal government in order to step in when the local and state governments fail. And so this has been used many, many times, not merely to restore order if there's some violent revolution, but even, for instance, to desegregate schools. This has been used many, many times over the course of American history. There's nothing illegal about it. And in fact, what President Trump is doing right now is one of the clearest and most just uses of the Insurrection Act when you have cities that are failing, that in your own words, cannot enforce the law, are under-resourced, and are falling into disorder. So I think you've made a good argument for what President Trump is doing.
Okay.
Look what he's doing.
Let me bring in Jack. I want to bring in Jack. He's been waiting patiently. I mean, Jack, it seemed to me the congressman actually, maybe inadvertently, gave the explanation for why Trump feels justified in using the Insurrection Act. Because if you agree that the law enforcement in these very crime-ridden cities is failing and under-resourced, then why shouldn't the government use the Insurrection Act to put troops on the ground and try and restore proper order?
Well, because I don't think the intention is to restore proper order. Donald Trump and his entire administration has made it clear that they'd be happy to see unrest come out of sending in the National Guard. That's what they wanted out of their attack on LA. That's what they wanted to happen in D.C. Donald Trump sees this as an opportunity
evidence for that?
to intimidate people. It's come out directly of the administration that they think it is a win if they go into Portland and nothing happens, but nothing is happening. It's people in T-Rex Halloween costumes who are getting maced for simply exercising their First Amendment right, which, Michael, I thought you cared about. It doesn't really seem like that's the case. But they've also said that if there is
where are you getting that from? Hold on. Before you make you made an argument.
I think if you would allow me to finish my
the
point,
Trump administration wants disorder and has admitted this. What's your evidence?
You don't like to hear people speak out, and now I'm delivering a point that you don't seem to like, and you want to silence me. That's what this administration does. It's okay. You don't have the power to do that today.
Now, Jack, to be clear, you made a statement that the Trump administration actively wanted.
And here is what makes this whole thing absolutely hilarious. Any Democrat, any left-leaning person at all, has the nerve to say that is what this administration does. Because whenever these people get backed into a corner and have no real answer, their only move is to just talk over everybody else. That is the universal leftist debate playbook, and it runs the same way every single time. The moment they feel themselves losing ground, they start cutting people off and running their mouths so nobody else can get a word in. And on top of that, if you are going to throw out a serious accusation against the person sitting right across from you, you better be ready to back it up. Because if you cannot back it up, do not be surprised when somebody stops you dead in your tracks and asks you to show your proof. These people go on Piers Morgan and just embarrass themselves over and over again, while Michael Knowles just walks right through them without even breaking a sweat. Drop your thoughts in the comments about this whole exchange and about the fact that this is supposedly a government official sitting there looking like that. Let me know what you guys think about Michael Knowles absolutely dismantling this Democrat live on Piers Morgan Uncensored and this whole Michael Knowles versus this woke idiot situation.